Jonathan. All right, let's come forward. Thank you. All right, welcome candidates, Mr. Jack Guerrero and Jonathan Ingram, and we will start with opening statements and start with 2 minutes. I thought 90 seconds, excuse me, 90 seconds, opening statements, and start with Mr. Guerrero. Thank you.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for coming out this evening, and Mr. Ingram, it's a pleasure to meet you today. Ladies and gentlemen, Sacramento politicians and their counterparts in county government have been really mismanaging the people's affairs in very irresponsible ways. For instance, we have a $10 billion unfunded pension liability in the county of Riverside, which I've independently calculated as a former pension auditor. We also have excessive compensation schemes, including dozens, I should say, of county bureaucrats that are making $500,000 a year in compensation. That's a true story. Or government growing faster than population growth by a factor of 15. Or lackluster advocacy for the people of this county before a corrupt legislature and its government. Ladies and gentlemen, the time has come for an independent watchdog, somebody who is completely free, unencumbered of political relationships or reciprocal endorsements, to serve as a check and balance on a board of supervisors run amok. I present for your consideration 20 years of experience as an economist, a certified public accountant, and a finance professional at the highest levels of corporate organizations, and in the public sector as a mayor and a city council member in deep blue Los Angeles County, where I was the only Republican elected official in that entire region, fighting the left-wing political establishment at every opportunity and winning. And I want to bring that same discipline to the county of Riverside.
Hey.
Are we ready?
Yes.
Okay, we got the clock under control. Good evening, I'm Jonathan Ingram. I'm the past mayor for the city of Marietta. I stepped down after term limits were put in place. So moved into, after a decade of working in the county, to running for county supervisor for the 3rd district. I'm a God-fearing, wife-loving individual who moved to Riverside County to get away from the cesspool that was Los Angeles. And I fought very hard to do that. I'm a pro-parent candidate. I believe in parents' rights, I believe in property rights, and I think it's time we stood up and started fighting back instead of fighting each other.
Let's give us a minute here. Unless Jonathan has something else. 40 seconds.
I'm trying to get this going here so you can get to the next round of candidates. She said
problem.
extra votes for Jack.
Thank God I gave you some time
right?
to do it. 30 seconds. Okay. We'll get on it. I can't tap dance. I can't. So I will 27 seconds. I will ask a question, and then I'll ask, and then we'll identify you. Well, here's a great one. You've both served, you've both been involved in your communities for a long time. Can you provide examples of successful projects or policies you've implemented in the past that demonstrate your ability to achieve results? Let's start with John. In a second.
1,000. Okay. So when I first got on board in the city of Marietta, one of the things that I worked on with other colleagues was putting in God We Trust back on our dais. It was a major move for us. It made a clear statement that we are a God-fearing city and we love God, we love Christ. That's important for us. I'm also proud to say that we're the #1 safest city in the nation, multiple times in the top 3 now. But the novel concept behind that was we actually enforce the law. And we put people in jail when they break the law. And that's what we need to be doing now, is enforcing the law again and not listening to the ridiculous crap that comes out of Sacramento. It's really a big problem for us, and it's what's led to what we have today. I helped bring Costco to the region. I helped bring CarMax to the region, a brand new Home Depot, thousands of jobs. We worked very diligently to make sure that we weren't a welfare city, that we actually earned our money and supported business and attracted businesses to our region. And that's how you build things in this country, is you bring people in and you reward them for working hard.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I got involved in politics in 2013 on the heels of a corruption scandal that was afflicting Southeast Los Angeles County. Some of you might recall the case of Bell. That was the corrupt town where the city manager was paying himself $1.5 million in a community where the average income is $30,000. A disgusting violation of the public trust. My own city had a similar episode of corruption. The dollar signs were a little bit smaller, but the conduct no less egregious. And against that backdrop, I decided to get involved in politics. Immediately upon installation, I called upon the California Controller, John Chung, to investigate my city and initiate a forensic examination. When he refused, I went to the Los Angeles Times and I delivered a 10-page summary of findings that I initiated through my own investigation. When the LA Times published an article, one of the few favorable articles about a Republican elected official, the state controller came knocking on the door and delivered the forensic examination that I was demanding, and that was the basis for the government reform measures that I introduced, and I'm very proud of that. I've also taken on the corrupt public schools, and let me tell you, even though schools are not within the jurisdiction of a mayor, they were certainly within my moral obligation to get involved, and I indicted the local schools as failure factories. And just the other day, by the way, I was in Temecula and before that in Murrieta, advocating for parental rights because that is my moral obligation as a public figure. I also took on taxes and fees, ladies and gentlemen, and I was a 1 on a 4-1 council in a left-wing political environment. And against that backdrop, I coalesced around my constituents to derail every single tax measure and fee measure in that region. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. Well, a couple of those you've covered pretty well here. Let's say this. Both of you have brought up business, so let's ask you this. What strategies do you have in mind to attract new businesses, support those businesses, and new investment in our district?
Tell people what they can do, not what they can't do. The government spends a lot of time telling people what they can't do, and it's pretty egregious because they're harming business in our county. And we can't attract business if we don't create certainty, and we certainly can't attract business if we have the egregious things that go on with property rights on a daily basis in this county, and that needs to change. You can't set the goalpost. If somebody acquires something and they actually have an entitlement, then that entitlement belongs to them. You don't get to move the goalpost and take that away and cause economic stress on somebody because you don't want something. That's not the way it works. We need to focus on how we empower our businesses, promote those businesses, and make sure that we're communicating with them how they can get things done and move forward. We spend a lot of time going through these issues and making people jump through hoops. And when you look at the traffic, because your average constituent in this county drives 2 hours a day, it's because the developers, the people that actually build the roads, because the government doesn't do it anymore, they're not doing it because they can't get their projects approved. At some point, in order to do this, we have to be able to collect the money, teach businesses, cultivate those businesses, and bring that revenue to this county and to our cities. That's how we're going to do that and encourage business and make sure that it's clearance and provide customer service like any other business. Thank you.
In this respect, I overlap significantly with my fellow contender here. I think we need to create a business-friendly environment in the county of Riverside. The gross domestic product for this county, by the way, hovers around $108 billion. On a compound annual growth rate, it converges on something closer to 5% over the last few years. While that might sound attractive, it barely keeps up with the pace of inflation. And so I think that there's a broad opportunity that we have to accelerate growth in this county. And it depends on creating a business-friendly environment. I don't know if any of you have heard of the economist Arthur Laffer. I've met him before. He was the chair of the Ronald Reagan Economic Council of Advisors, and he proposed something called the Laffer curve, which means that when you ascribe excessive taxation, the government agency actually realizes less government revenue, because every additional unit of production is disincentive given the encroachment on profitability by government. And so I do believe in the Laffer curve and in reducing the taxation rate so that we can create incentives for businesses to thrive. The tax rate in Riverside County hovers between 9.5% and 8.5%. That's far better than Los Angeles County, which is well over 10%. But I do think we still have room for improvement. We have to eliminate red tape, bureaucratic, organizational impediments, and we need to attract the right level of industry to come to this county so that we can thrive and develop opportunities for our residents.
experience and involvement in things. So let's give you a wide question. How do you plan, what key issue would you identify and the challenges in your district, and how would you approach those specific key issues as you see it? Mr. Guerrero.
Three broad categories of issues that are really important to me. As a certified public accountant, as an economist, for me, financial discipline and internal control remediation are near and dear to my heart. In my early professional career, I was an auditor of municipalities across California and of government agencies from the federal government, including the United States Department of Energy, the national laboratories, the United States Department of the Treasury. I had security clearance, and I audited the financial aspects of those agencies. And so I am wired like an auditor to have no stone unturned. For me, remediation of controls is very important because although you can't ascribe a Kodak moment to it or a selfie, internal controls allow for the detection and the disincenting of fraud, waste, and abuse. So they're very important when we establish these kinds of controls. I also think we're spending well beyond our means. If you look at population growth in the county of Riverside over the last 2 years, it went by 1%. We are spending in excess of 15% growth year over year in Riverside County. I think that is unacceptable. I also believe in quality of life issues like infrastructural development, transportation infrastructure development, public safety, of course. Finally, I think there is a responsibility for elected officials that hold regard in the county to go above and beyond the formal scope of their responsibility. When there is a moral obligation to get involved, even if it's outside the scope of the formal jurisdiction, it is incumbent upon us to speak up and stand up, whether it's for life, for parental notification, or for traditional marriage.
Thank you, Mr. Guerrero. Mr. Abrams, question, key issues,
So, repeat the question just one more time.
Yes, sir. I paraphrase the question, but here it is. Key issues. You have lots of experiences. The key issues, as you see them in your district, and the challenges that you currently face, that are most important to you.
District 3, we just start with the traffic. The average person, as I said, drives 2 hours a day. We sit in incessant traffic, whether it's Marietta Hot Springs, whether it's 79. The 79 highway is a state route. It's not the circulation element of the county. It still hasn't been improved. Most people that live in that area would know that. 2, we have mental health that we have to deal with, and mental illness, because one is not exclusive to the other, because the mental health issue in this country is what's causing the crime. So it's a huge problem for this county. We need to support law enforcement. We need to make sure that we're fighting to make sure that we get our resources. When you look at the fires, the other things that we've had in this county, at some point we're going to have a catastrophic event, whether it be an earthquake, whether it be fire. And we have to look at how we're going to support those departments and earn that revenue to actually pay for that. If we're always dependent on the state, we're in a serious world of hurt because we've seen what they've done. We need to talk about the realignment of Highway 79 that started 30 years ago that still isn't done. I'm very proud that when I got on the city council that we actually achieved getting Clinton Keith done in Whitewood, which was 30 years in the making. And we completed it, we did it. A lot of people started and helped lift it, but I finished it over the finish line, there's no doubt. And so what we need to do now is look at the things that impact our lives, the quality of our lives on a daily basis. We're not Los Angeles. This is Riverside. We need to make sure that we treat Riverside accordingly and that we make sure that life is the best it possibly can be for the people that reside in Riverside.
Thank you. We will be inviting up my colleague again. Oh, they have 2 minutes. I wasn't closing statement. Oh my gosh, he was so articulate and I'm so enthralled, I forgot that we have 2 minutes. So you two decide who goes first and your closing statements. Okay? Sorry, Rick.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for coming out on this beautiful evening. I love Riverside County. When I turned out of my office in Los Angeles County last December, and by the way, I kicked myself out because I wrote the ordinance on term limits because I believe that politicians should not be in office for the rest of their lives. When I finished my term, I came to Riverside County because this place shares my values and because this place is worth fighting for. I think this is ground zero in the culture war against a corrupt state legislature and its governor. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I'm proud to be a Riverside County resident. When I ran for treasurer last year in 2022, I garnered 4.5 million votes in the state of California. And in Riverside County, I took 53% of the vote, an estimated 2/3 of the vote in District 3. I am the only candidate who has evidenced electability within the parameters of this specific jurisdiction. I'm also the ultimate outsider, ladies and gentlemen, totally unencumbered by any political relationships or reciprocal endorsements. I have not accepted a single penny from any vendor, developer, contractor, or consultant that does business with Riverside County because I believe this to be unseemly and unethical. Ladies and gentlemen, I have fought the left-wing political establishment in the deepest blue area of the deepest blue state in the union, and I have won every step of the way on key issues. I want to present this experience for the benefit of the citizens of Riverside County. If you are seeking someone to go along, to get along, I'm not your candidate. Please do not vote for me. But if you seek revolution, if you want someone who's going to push the envelope, someone who's ethical, analytical, and wired like an auditor to leave no stone unturned, then I humbly submit my background for your consideration. And finally, to the patriots in this room, there is a revolution coming in this country and in this state. Don't get it started without me. I'm Jack Guerrero. God bless you all, and God bless you.